these questions are or how they were written. Not even the board of directors was given information on this because they wanted to keep it, to make sure that it was fair and just and even for all of the candidates. With that being said, if you like the questions, absolutely, I'll take the credit for it. And if you don't, I would like to blame our prior president, Dan Chapman with Farmers. He somehow influenced me to write these. I don't know what it is yet, but if they're not good, definitely blame him. There are going to be 5 total questions that are asked today. The first and the last question will be answered by all of the candidates. The questions in the middle, numbers 2, 3, and 4, question 2 will only be answered by 2 candidates. Question 3 will be answered by 2 candidates, as well as question 4. And those numbers were drawn at random. So when we were over at the table before everybody got to eat, the candidates were actually seated at random, were selected at random by which question they're going to answer, because we do cover a wide range of stuff, and we want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to answer it. However, because this is a conversation, I encourage you and all of the voters to make sure that if your candidate did not get to answer a question, ask them later. Get that answer from them. Give them the opportunity to give you that answer, as they are all relevant questions. The rules themselves. I will set the stage for each question with a brief narrative. In other words, a little bit of a guide into the direction that we were thinking. I will then say, candidates, here is your question, and they will get a question based off that narrative, and they will have 1 minute to answer. At the end of that minute, there will be an audible alarm, and we will continue on. At the end of it, they will get 2 minutes to make a statement. Now, one of the concerns that we had, but we had to address, is we will not be taking questions from the audience during this presentation, mainly just because of time. We're going to be pushing right about the 1 o'clock mark as it is. We also know that some of you may have to leave early because we all do run businesses and have lives, and if you need to do so, you're more than welcome to step out whenever is necessary. Once we conclude, absolutely swarm the candidates, ask the questions that you want. If they didn't get to finish, it'll be a good opportunity for them to step up at that point with you guys one-on-one and answer those questions. The time limits will be strictly enforced, so we ask that you are respectful of that time. Everybody good with that? And then the last part is, because I'm not a voting member here, but I am a community member, we wanted to let everybody know ahead of hand, I'm not friends with any of these candidates. I have worked with some of them on a professional level within the community, but I've never been to anyone's house. I've never joined them for dinner. Do you all agree with that? Okay. So what we don't want to have happen here is that when anyone leaves this, they question what the authenticity of this forum was. This is a very contested race, or all of you wouldn't be here today. We know that. We know that there are 6 people running for 3 seats, and that makes it hot. We want to make sure that this is fair, and we know that this is being broadcast. We want everyone to know this is a legitimate race for the North County School District, and that it is important and it is valuable for these candidates and for the different community groups that are around it. So that's kind of the stage that we're going to set. You guys ready to get going? Okay. So the first question will be for all of you. You will all get 1 minute to answer it once we get going. Okay? We'll start with number 1, and we will work our way down. Sound good? And somebody help me remember. Actually, Reggie, what you got going today? You look like you're enjoying your lunch.
Yeah, I anticipate being here for a long time.
Sir, would you mind to be my timer?
You got it.
I don't think I can be trusted with such a responsibility. 1 minute on all the questions, and then I'll give you the one at the end when we go to speaking. Does that sound fair? Their time will begin as soon as they start to answer their question. So here is the first one for all candidates. Every parent, educator, and active community member believes this public school system should be periodically reviewed, demonstrate improvement, and display sound fiscal management to operate efficiently. In broad terms, or as it could be said, a common response, we all want to see the youth in the community have greater opportunities and improve academically. That is universal. Parents meet this challenge each time they get their child ready for school or when they provide the basic necessities for a child to be engaged in the learning environment. As candidates for the upcoming positions, you have chosen to take additional action above and beyond the common response. This requires an uncommon motivation. Candidates, here is your question. In very specific terms, what is your uncommon motivation?
When you talk about our dedication sorry.
I know, right?
Forgot, right? When you talk about our dedication to schools, I have a unique perspective because I've been a teacher in a neighboring district for 20 years. And so I bring a teacher's voice to our school district that hasn't been on our board for a number of years. And so I bring that perspective in. In addition, I also bring in the parent perspective. I have 4 children, all of whom have either attended or are attending North County. So I can also speak with a mother's heart. And my husband and I have been very active in the Bonne Terre and Deloche communities through volunteer services. And so I also have that unique perspective in being able to be a voice for the community. So I feel like I bring in all 3 of those areas. I bring in the teacher's voice, the mother's heart, and the community activism.
Thank you. Real quick, Jim. Perfect timing. I am a horrible moderator. I forgot to introduce him. Isn't that kind of important? All right, so candidate number 1 who just spoke is Stacy Kay. Candidate number 2 who will be speaking next is Julie Pratt. Number 3 is Stacy Tiffenauer Wilfong. To my left, number 4 is Alan Grimminger, and then Jake Long, as well as Adam Freudel. Did I get it? I got it. All right. So that may help a little bit in who's speaking next. Everyone loves the back of Chuck Old's head. Absolutely, we can do it. All right, ma'am.
I think I was the one that voted to stay seated. He did.
Your question is,
Yes.
What is your uncommon motivation?
I guess my uncommon motivation would be as
Reggie? Absolutely, we can. Technical difficulties, aren't they fun? Reggie, I don't have quite enough cord, sir. Nope. Reggie, I don't have enough cord. This is the fun things that you plan for, you try to plan out, everything works right before everyone gets here, and then it all goes south. What part of it is because we are broadcasting this, we do want to make sure that it's recorded. So here you go, ma'am.
Okay, I'll trade you. Okay, sorry. Okay, so what was the question? My uncommon motivation, right? Okay, so being a parent, being an active community member, I've been active in the Bonne Terre Chamber, served on the board there, served on the Deloche Chamber. I see how important it is for the community and the city to work together with the school. So that's one of the reasons that I'm running, to see that we do that. The other reason that I'm running mainly is because of the No Hungry Children. That is something that's near and dear to my heart. And it really bothers me to know that we've got kids coming to North County every morning and they're hungry. And so my reason for running is to put a stop to that.
Thank you. And again, the question is, what is your uncommon motivation?
Okay, my uncommon motivation. I also have a small child in the school district, and I am one of those people that bleed red or blue. Been here my whole life, and I'm probably not going anywhere. So my most uncommon motivation is we have to keep our teachers here. I also work at the college, and we're seeing more and more kids come in that are in remedial classes. They're not getting the education they needed, and I think part of that is because we're not retaining our good quality teachers there. Whether that be the pay scale, which is always a huge issue, whether it be they move or for whatever reason that we're not keeping them, we have to figure that out. My kid's in 2nd grade, and I need her to bleed red or blue her whole life too. So that's kind of where I stand with that. I need our school district to flourish and go back to what it was when I feel like when I was young.
Thank you. And again, what is your uncommon motivation?
My motivation for running for this board, in the past I sat on the board here in Deloge as an alderman, was elected to 2 terms there, and became very familiar with the way that boards operate and the functions that they provide for the community. I agree with Stacy on the teacher pay. We've got to find a way to get our teachers' pay up. Without being on the inside, I don't know how that will happen. I know that you can only use certain funds for that, but we have to figure out a way to keep our teachers here. losing teachers to neighboring school districts because of pay is unacceptable. We can't do that. Surely we can find the funds to keep those teachers here. In addition to that, I wanted to try to restore some unity to our board. It seems that we are a divided district in some respects, and that needs to be fixed. We need to be able to get together, work together, and find common ground.
Thank you. Let's stretch forward out here. We'll see how it goes. You ready?
I'm ready.
What is your uncommon motivation?
My uncommon motivation. I was not a model student. I did not like school at all. So upon graduation, I joined the United States Navy, and I did grow up there. I'm fortunate enough now to be the director of the Educational Talent Search Program at Mineral Area College, and we work with students that may not have every chance, every opportunity. However, every student deserves the opportunity to have the best education possible. Again, like some have said here today, unity is what we need to focus on. And sometimes that is removing yourself, your personalities from the situation and focus on the students. Because if we make every decision based on what's best for students, you can't make the wrong decision.
Very good. Thank you. Sir, what is your uncommon motivation?
Well, it's the common motivation is I do have 2 children in the school district right now. So I have my daughter McKinley, who's in 1st grade, and Grayson will be starting pre-K this fall. So with having them there, I wanted to utilize some of my strengths that I have in revenue generation and building brands. It's what I do for a living with the St. Louis Cardinals. So with revenue generation, there are ways that we can capitalize on our district to create revenue streams that we don't currently have outside of the tax dollars that we get and the bonds and things that we do. So I want to use my expertise to help us generate revenue there so we can retain and recruit and bring in new teachers so that we can keep the best here in the district for our kids so that they're getting the best education that they can.
Thank you. Our next question is going to be for candidate Stacy Tiffenauer-Wilfong as well as Jake Long. You ready? All right. We live in an incredible time in human society. Many of us remember a time before technology was so saturated in our lives. While it is undeniable that we can benefit in countless ways from the use of vast amounts of information available at our fingertips, it's also become surprisingly easy to become an armchair expert or a Monday morning quarterback. An old proverb sums it up well: a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Let's take a moment and relate this to the aspect of financial responsibility. Smart financial management of a large budget is not an ordinary task. It is multifaceted, and it is not an exact science. While many people think they can handle sound investment strategies, long-scale, long-term application of this requires creativity, courage, and very thick skin. Candidates, here is your question. As a candidate, why do you believe you have the skill set needed to handle this extraordinary financial responsibility? Stacy?
Well, that's a hard question. I do think I have tough skin. I'm willing to ask those hard questions. Without being on the inside to know exactly where the budget lies, everyone knows the budget is not great. I think there's a lot of resources we can pull from. There's different grants, there's different programs, all those kind of things that we can incorporate into our classrooms, into our district that maybe are out there that we don't know about. Maybe they're out there, we just haven't reached out for them yet. I think we have to be very resourceful in those things that we do. The community we have here is amazing with the support they give. It's nothing to go out and ask for donations and be able to get thousands of dollars for those donations. We're talking on a way bigger scale than that. So I think as a board, the unity that everyone's talking about, we're going to have to join together, all of us, and figure out where are these funds coming from and how do we reach those and how do we make them reachable and financially fit for us.
Thank you. Jake, again, the question is, why do you believe that you have the skill set needed to handle this extraordinary financial responsibility?
As the director of the Talent Search Program, I oversee an annual budget of between $500,000 and $750,000 annually. I have sat on the MOCAN-E, which is the Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska chapter of the Educational Opportunities Association, as their treasurer. So I do have experience sitting on boards, watching over expenditures, making sure that we're making prudent purchases. Again, if everything is focused on the students, that's key. And even though, you know, like Dr. Levy has mentioned a lot of issues that we do need, now is the time. We must get these and make these purchases, and it's so important to pass the bond issue. However, knowing what's, just because we want something, and I believe in financial solvency for the district, getting pay increase for everyone, you have to see what the budget allows at the time.
Thank you. All right. This next question will be for Stacy Kay and Adam Freudel. At the root of this concept, the voting population wants to form a cohesive and cooperative group of well-rounded, responsible adults capable of working towards a common goal. That common goal also needs to be in a direction different from where we are now, or we wouldn't need this debate. That requires independent thinking and the ability to communicate independent thought, to have the tenacity to weather the storm of opposite positions from others on your team and in your community, and to have the humility to admit your shortcomings in your plans. Let's face it, you can have the next revolutionary idea in education, but much like this debate, if you cannot communicate, collaborate, and close the deal, your ideas and efforts are simply not effective for creating change. Candidates, here is your question. What experience or intentions will you call on to effectively promote your ideas and beliefs? Stacy? You're good there.
I'm good? Okay. I'm a communication arts teacher by trade, and so I feel like I have quality communication skills. In my current position, I am responsible for all of our data teams, and I'm also responsible for all things Google. And I find myself in many different leadership positions at Potosi High School. And part of the challenge that we always face with any kind of an educational team is getting each other to work together and to see other people's perspective. And again, that's what I do for a living. In my experience in research, I do have the ability to say, hey, look, I don't know the answer to that. I have that kind of humility, but I also have the tenacity to find the answers that we need. And I have the ability in which to do so. And I just draw on that experience that comes from being a communication arts teacher and from being part of many different organizations here within the community. We need the value of a team.
Thank you. And Adam, the question again is, what experience or intentions will you call on to effectively promote your ideas and beliefs? And you have plenty of room, sir.
I think one of the characteristics that I do have with this is, if you ask any of my former coaches or teachers or employers, I have that ability to be very level-headed in the decision-making that I do. So anytime I'm going to sit down with somebody, I'm not afraid to voice my opinion, but I'm also know that I, too, am sometimes wrong. So I'm going to sit down. I will listen to the other board members. We need a board of those differing opinions and differing strengths, but have that ability to get together, talk through things, and come to the best decision, and then back each other in those decisions as they go out and kind of institute it in what we're going to be able to do. So,
thank you. All right. And our final question for just two candidates is going to be for Julie Pratt and Alan Grimminger. Stay with me. I got a little bit to go on this one, okay? You guys good? Everyone settled in? You need a drink? You guys need a drink? You good? Okay. As a citizen, then as an individual board member, and finally as a board of directors, the way that you define success tells a lot about your character. Here is a simple challenge for the candidates and the voters. Please think of 3 metrics that you feel are important to determine what constitutes success for the students. History has taught us that your mental list probably included standardized testing, college admittance, and attendance. However, a growing trend over the past few decades places social and emotional intelligence as equally as important as academic knowledge. As our previous question touched on social intelligence and the ability to communicate effectively as a board member, this question touches on emotional intelligence. Two important components of emotional intelligence include interpersonal intelligence, which is the capacity to understand the motivation of others, and intrapersonal intelligence, which is the capacity to understand one's own motivations. These skills are extremely difficult to judge with a metric. However, they play a vital role in the education of our youth. Teachers and students subconsciously use these skills at all levels in education. For the teacher, it is crucial that they know why they want to do this job, but also how to motivate their students to learn. Every single student has a varying degree of motivational factors, and our teachers must have the capacity and awareness to evaluate each student as an individual. Each student, but honestly probably with a little less awareness, must learn these skills to effectively navigate in this world. A particular student's ability to properly balance a chemical formula cannot be considered a success if the student is not motivated to come to school and demonstrate that ability. In this example, a student's ability to self-regulate motivations directly affects the results of standard metrics. Candidates, here is your question. What thoughts have you given to emotional intelligence in the school system, and what are your plans for tackling this nearly immeasurable challenge? Ms. Pratt?
I was wanting the budget question.
I told you it wouldn't be easy.
I know. Okay, honestly, I haven't thought about that, just to be quite honest. But I will tell you this. I know that our staff morale is really low, and our kiddos are not going to learn as effectively, one, if they come to school hungry, two, if morale is down with the teachers. So my thing I would like to see is us to build up the morale of the teachers. I've served on boards, very familiar with how they work, and I feel that as a board, you've got to be open to suggestions and opinions from the teachers. The teachers are there spending the majority of the time with our kiddos. They see them more than we parents do. So with that being the case, I would want an open dialect with the teachers, with the staff, to figure out how to make that work.
Thank you. And Mr. Grimminger, your question is, what thoughts have you given to emotional intelligence in the school system, and what are your plans for tackling this nearly immeasurable challenge?
I think part of this goes to our teachers being much more than teachers. There's something that I tell my daughter every year before the first day of school. It's difficult for me to talk about. A lot of times our teachers are more than just a teacher. They're sometimes the only positive in our students' lives. Our teachers are so good at that. There's no replacing that. That is the absolute key, that our teachers are so much more than teachers. They care, they're underpaid, and they still care. They continue to do these things day after day after day. They're a mom, they're a dad, they're a brother, they're a sister. And I think that's so important to our kids, and I think that goes directly to this socialization question.
Thank you. So we have one last question, and all of the candidates will get to answer this question. When there is a fine line between two things, perspective is what normally helps us to decide which side we individually land on. When running for an elected position, candidates must be assertive without being insistent, bold without being brash, and confident without being conceited. Once the votes are recorded, ultimately, someone will be elected and someone will not. It is humbling to have made a case for something you believe in and to be told you were not chosen to represent it. However, it does not mean that your cause or your belief is invalid. We wouldn't advise a student to give up because they didn't win the game,
or because they've, oh man, I was doing so good. I made like 4 questions without losing my place. That's funny right there. We wouldn't advise a student, just like I never missed it. We wouldn't advise a student to give up because they didn't win the game or to drop out of school for a bad test grade. The same moral principle applies to us as adults. UCLA basketball coach John Wooden said, "Be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think of you. If you were not to win this election, character says you should continue to support the original cause and your beliefs. Concern for reputation may lead to a defensive posturing on how you were wronged." Candidates, here is your question. Please give a specific example of common ground with one of your opponents and how you can support them if you are not elected. You do. You drew the number 1.
I was driving home from school on Friday with my boys, and my 9-year-old said, "Mom, have you seen all these school board signs?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I've noticed them." And he said, "And did you know that I know some of your opponents?" And I said, "Well, honey, of course you do. They're your neighbors and our friends." And, you know, I really do feel like that even though I don't have a personal relationship with the other 5 candidates who are here today, we all do have something in common. With Mrs. Pratt, her husband and my husband work together with the city of Bonne Terre. My son attends the gym with Miss Tiffenauer's, Miss Wilfong's, she'll always be Tiffenauer to be, but Miss Wilfong's brother. Mr. Grimminger's daughter was my student teacher. My students work with the ETS program that Mr. Long is part of, and I remember Mr. Freudel going through the Bonne Terre Baseball League. So, you know, I feel like that we all have a personal relationship.
Thank you. Your question is, can you please give a specific example of common ground with your opponent and how you will support them if you're not elected?
Well, I believe we all have common ground up here, or we wouldn't be sitting up here. We all have a love for this district. We all, like Stacy said, we bleed, you know, blue and gold. Don't know Stacy that well, but my husband is a teacher at UniTec, and he's been there for 16 years. Mr. Grimminger's daughter, Ashley, was my daughter's 4th grade teacher, so that's common ground. Like Stacy said, Sean and my husband Bruce work together. And even if I'm not elected, I've been active in the school district. I've been active in both communities, Deloge and Bonne Terre, and that's not going to change. I will remain active just like I am now and still support the board.
Thank you. And again, the question is, can you give a specific common ground issue with your opponent and how you can support them if you're not elected?
Well, this is the first time I've ever ran for any kind of election like this, so I feel like I've supported this district my entire life, and I will continue to. My daughter's in 2nd grade. My nieces all attend North County, and hopefully they will continue. No one's leaving anytime soon. I also coach track at North County, so yesterday was the first day of track practice, and my track kids were not happy when I said, if I get elected in April, I'm not going to be able to be your track coach. They've already figured out how I can FaceTime them and how are they going to be able to do this and can I still come to track meets and what am I going to do with that. So unfortunately, I'm never going to leave North County. You're all kind of stuck with me. I work with Jake at Mac. Adam and my brother are good friends. I see him all over the place. Mr. Grimminger lives a block behind my mom and dad. And you can't go anywhere that you don't see him. You don't go to Walmart that he's not there and he's going to help me do something. Miss Julie, today is the first day we've actually been introduced. I've known her younger sister. Her younger sister went into labor chasing my dog one time. I remember that. Yes. And Mrs. Kay and I met tonight for the first time too, but we're all here for the same purpose.
Thank you. Again, what are some common ground issues and how can you support your opponents if you are not elected?
Well, I know somebody asked me when I first filed for election to the North County School Board who I was running against. I'm not running against anybody. I'm running for a seat on the board. I think that everybody at this table will make a good board member. I know that I will make a good board member. So we all have the commonality that we want the district to succeed. We want it to be successful. Most of all, we want our students to come out with a good education and be ready to move on to whatever they're ready to go to, whether it's to go into the workforce, to go into a technical field, or to go to college. Not all kids are ready to go to college. Not all kids are cut out for college. I'm living proof of that. Didn't go, couldn't go. Wouldn't have made it if I did at the time. I wasn't mature enough to do that. But I think we all understand that kids are different. They come from different backgrounds, and they need to be educated differently, and we're all willing to do that.
Thank you.
Again, to reiterate what everyone has said, if our hearts weren't in the right place, we wouldn't be here today. Everybody brings something special, an area of expertise. Mine is in budget issues, working on boards, working with building those community relationships. Like Alan said, when I graduated, I was not that student. I was a union electrician for 20 years and never thought I would be in education. So here I am working on a doctorate degree in education, and I'm surprised as anyone. But I think any one of us would make a great board member, and I know that I am not afraid to ask a question, and we can always, through collaboration and communication, we can achieve our goals.
And again, one more time, please give a specific example of common ground with your opponent and how you can support them if you're not elected.
So we have 6 fantastic candidates here that are running for this. We could all do a great job on this board. Our community should be happy that we have this many people who are interested in taking these positions. As we've all talked about, the teachers are very important in this district, and we all have that common ground of trying to do the best thing we can to recruit and retain the teachers that we have. So whether or not I'm on the board or not is not going to change the fact that I'm going to do everything that I can to use my abilities to help find those ways to generate revenue and bring in more money so that we can help fund these teachers and fund the programs that we're doing. So whatever it takes, building the brand. The Raider brand's not in the best shape that it's ever been right now. So my kids are going to be going through this school for the next 15 years, regardless of whether I'm on the board or not. So I'm going to do everything I can to help that brand improve and help the other candidates here and the current board to get the brand back to where it's the best one in the region.
Thank you. So that concludes our questions. At this point, we will turn it over, and each candidate will get 2 minutes to make a statement. We are going to be sticklers on the time, and would you please set the timer for 1:45? You'll hear a tone about 15 seconds before your time is up so that you have the ability to wrap up the thought that you may be working with. You guys ready? Yes? Yeah? All right, let's do it.
Even as a communication arts teacher, this is not the easiest thing that I've ever done in my life. You know, school boards, they should not be competitive. They should not be political. We are in this together as a Raider team. I believe that school boards should share common vision and common goals. And I believe that we should work together as a team to set sound educational policy and to solve dire financial issues. And I believe that in order to do that, we need a board that's made up of diverse individuals with unique experiences. And I think that all of us have something to offer to speak to that. I think that every one of the candidates here truly does want what's best for our kids, but I think that I offer something that is unique. I know our teachers are in crisis mode at some points. They are emotionally tasked every day in the classrooms, and we have to do something to help them. And I feel like because of my years in education that I have the experience that's necessary to help them. I have that teacher's voice. And at the same time, I look at our current board that lacks a mother's voice. And I feel like that too is something that I can offer this particular school board, is that mother's voice that's currently missing. I had some notes thought out here. I really want you to know that I have spent my entire life being Dave Dix's daughter or Cheryl Weibel's daughter. I've been Sean Kay's wife. I've been my kid's mom. And the only people who truly know me are those people who live with me. And this will give people an opportunity to know who I am. I want to work in the community where I live. I want my hometown to know me like I know them. And I don't feel like I've ever had an opportunity to do that. And I think that I can use my experience here to serve North County's board to do just that.
Okay, so y'all know my name is Julie Pratt, and I am not a politician. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a foster adoptive parent, and I am a financial advisor. I've got over 20 years of banking and financial experience. I spent 8 years on the Bonne Terre Chamber Board of Directors. I served as president and treasurer. I've been treasurer for the Deloge Chamber of Commerce, and I've been on the Budget and Finance Committee for my church for the last 6 years. The reasons I'm running is, one, I feel that we're in a critical time right now in our district, and we need somebody like me on the board, a good listener, a hard worker, a problem solver, and I'd like the opportunity to contribute my knowledge to support our students. We know that schools are the backbone of our community. Schools produce our thinkers, our leaders, our active citizens, and so we need to provide our young people with quality education that makes our world much better. Like I talked about, I'd like to see breakfast after the bell implemented. I want to give students a safe, healthy environment where they feel empowered and they feel accepted. And I'm proud to have partnered with Bonne Terre Chamber of Commerce. We did one of the first fundraisers, brought in over a pallet of food for the backpack program. Our staff and our teachers need a morale boost. Teachers are doing more than just teaching our kids. They're our nurses, our schools, our resource officers, our social workers, our counselors. So they need a morale boost. They also need a pay raise. I know I'm married to one. I was proud to have created a partner with Deloge Chamber of Commerce, and we hosted a teacher's superhero back-to-school bash just a couple years ago. Teachers came in, they were able to get gift cards, pick up supplies for their rooms. It was a great time. We just celebrated the teachers. And finally, financial solvency and transparency. We need to meet the needs of our teachers and our students, but we also need to do that by using taxpayers' money very wisely. So to summarize, let's make NC the best place for students to learn. Let's improve the district finances and make NC salaries competitive. So I'm asking for your vote on April the 7th, and I'm also asking you to vote yes on Proposition S. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So I'm totally not as prepared as they are for this because they said introduce yourself. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Stacy. I have lived here my entire life. My entire family has went to North County. So when I say I bleed red or blue, it's one of those things. You don't leave the county to do things. You don't leave your district to do things. I grew up in a union family. So whatever you did it to the best with the people that surrounded you. So I feel like this group that I'm standing here with are amazing people. And how could you go wrong with any of us is where I'm going with that. But you do have to choose 3 people. I don't bring the financial part that Julie brings to it, but I feel like I bring the down-home part to it. I see these kids every day. I'm in and out of the schools a lot with my own child. I go to a lot of sporting events. I go to community events. And you do see these kids that have no one but their teachers. So when our teachers are going home, they're tired. They don't want to get up. They're spending their own money to try to help these kids at school. When I go buy snacks for my kid to take to school, I buy the whole box so her classmates could have some too. And I know a lot of other parents do that too, but then you also have those people that don't have that. They don't have the supplies. They don't have the extra. So I'm only one person, and I try to help that. If we can somehow figure out how to get this budget back into good standings, make our teachers' salaries competitive, that's going to help our teachers. They're not only spending their own money, but we're going to find some kind of resources to help them get the supplies they need, so they're not spending their own money for Ziploc bags to send their pencils home in or their candy or whatever they have that day. I feel coming in and out of the school, we have a lot of good parent involvement at school parties, those kind of things. Where are those people when we need them? We have got to have better communication to get out to these people, reach them, pull them in so they can help us. Our business owners can only do so much. We have got to get everyone involved with that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, as I mentioned before, I served 2 terms on the Deloge City Council. While on that board, I sat on many committees, including the Budget and Finance Committee, the Fire Department Board, the committee where we reorganized the city's ordinances and the codification of all those ordinances. I chaired the committee that wrote the sick leave and vacation policies for the city employees. I was a past member of the Mineral Area Elks Lodge, where I held all officers' positions and was responsible for budgeting for a large charitable organization. I want to be a part of a goal-oriented board that's willing to work together in a unified spirit for the good of our district and, most importantly, for the good of our students. I want to help create a sense of unity between the board, the administration, the teachers, the staff, and the families of our district. I want open lines of communication between all parties, where teachers and staff know that they can speak freely to our administrators and board members without fear of retaliation. I want to reestablish some committees that haven't been utilized in the last several years, specifically the calendar committee. I think teacher involvement is a vital source and a success for the success of our students. I want our teachers and our staff to be paid to the best of our abilities. I don't want to continue losing teachers. An item of great importance is our upcoming bond issue, Proposition S. We must work together to instill confidence in our communities that we will be good stewards of their money. And in closing, our board must start working together to heal that division that is within our district now. A strong district is a united district, and a strong united district is a very successful district.
Thank you.
As an educator, I believe that students come first. Yet, with considering positions I've held on boards, I do believe that our teachers need better pay. However, we must achieve financial solvency first. And when we can get back, when the board does get the district back to where they need to be, then the focus should be and must be on those pay increases. However, until then, we must work together, set personal differences aside in what's best for the district and our students. I think the division has cost us a lot over the years, and that's got to stop. We're adults. We believe in. We have a common interest here, but yet our personal differences may be in the way at times. I do support the bond issue. Dr. Levy has developed a plan. We're working together, the committee. I encourage everyone to vote yes for that issue, but yet I will stand up for the students, for the teachers, and what's best for the district. I know that could be difficult at times, and we must answer for our actions, but I do believe in accountability and responsibility, and you make the best decision that you can with the information you have at the time. That's it. Thank you.
So a lot of you guys probably don't know me very well. I'm a 2001 graduate of North County. My family has been in this district for over 40 years. A lot of you probably went to school with my siblings. My sister Wendy graduated in '89, my brother Tom in '92, and my brother Matt in 1998. We all bleed Raider blue, just like Stacy, and very, very similar in that aspect. I was away from this place for about 13 years, went away to college and got into working into sports marketing and kind of traveled away, was in Madison, Wisconsin, but I got that opportunity to come take my dream job in St. Louis for the Cardinals, and I could have very easily settled into the St. Louis area, but this was home. This is where my family was. This is where the friends were. I wanted to share those memories with my kids that I had growing up. I wanted to be able to them to sit in the same classrooms I did. I want them to go to the Friday night football games, the Central Christmas Tournament, where we all have those same memories. I wanted to be able to share that with them. And so I'm willing to make that drive to St. Louis and have those late nights getting done with games at midnight and still have that hour drive home, but I wanted them to experience what we have here. And I know you guys can all appreciate that the same. I know this candidates here, we all have the same mission here. We all want to do what's best interest of this school. I agree that we need different personalities on the board. I feel like I bring a different skill set than some of the other folks up here. We all have our own specific strengths that we have, but I feel like I bring something different to the table here. So I'd love to have the backing of our community, and I'd love to be that voice for everyone here. And in regard to Proposition S, I fully back that as well. I think we all need to get out and vote. We need those dollars for our schools so we can get everything up to date and have everything safe and secure for our kids.
Thank you. So, on behalf of the Deloge Chamber of Commerce, we'd like to thank each of the candidates for taking your time to come up here. We know for some of you there was challenges that you had to overcome to be here, and we appreciate that. This is what it is about. We would encourage all eligible voters to become informed of the issues and seek answers to the questions that they feel they need answers to make an educated vote, whether they were asked here today or in the future. Everybody needs to be a part of this conversation. This will conclude our normal luncheon, so you all will be dismissed momentarily. But we do encourage you to stick around, speak with the candidates one-on-one. Candidates, we encourage you to be a part of that, and we thank you all for benefiting our children and our community. Have a good day.